Shalom and good morning, citizens, fellow YouTube subscribers. Randy here. Wanted to come and talk about somebody. I wanted to talk about a living example, and many like it, that you can do as well. See, the key is that anything that anybody else can do with the proper drive and initiative and resources, of course, you can do as well. No one is just all omnipotent and nobody else can't do it. The idea is that if you have the drive and the patience and the initiative, you can achieve any dreams, goals, and aspirations that you set out before yourself. And never let anybody say you can't do something. And the only reason why they say you can't do something is because they haven't done it themselves. Now, there's certain instances where you just can't do it, you know what I'm saying, because of the resources or whatever. But for the most part, apply yourself and then you can achieve what it is that you set out to do. But I wanted to talk about a father and a son, and the father's ability to transfer true wealth to that son in a form of inheritance and in form of a business. So, the father, Mr. England, had a son, okay? And the father decided for whatever reason that he wanted to do carpentry work or construction. Now, I have the same stories for plumbing, home heating and air, so forth and so on. But this is the one particular one that I know of and I've heard and I've seen manifest. So, Mr. England, he started his own little contracting business. And before he did that, he joined a crew. And he worked on that crew, putting up pole barns, building homes, building sheds, building cabins, whatever. And he built up a skill set as to where he got his contractor's license, or, he went out there and he started his own little construction crew, okay? He began to get 3-4 men of his own. And the interesting thing about it is the size of the team. 3-4 men, between 3 to 6 men, he started to work with himself. And in that time, he built up a little reputation for himself. And he began to contract and get larger and larger projects. Could you imagine a home that is worth $400,000, the materials going in at $200,000? What do you think the other half of that money goes towards? It goes towards the construction. It's shared equally between the materials and the men that has to, the skilled labor that has to work with those materials in order to get it done. So, Mr. England, the father, worked over the course of 10, 15, 20 years to build up his little construction company. And what he did was he had his son come on site after high school, to learn the trade of the father. Now, by then, the father's making millions of dollars. The father, because he built his own home, and he's created wealth where he can now step back and retire. And when he feels that his son, or he felt that his son was ready, all he did was take his name off the account, transfer the account over, set his son up with 3 or 4 large contracts, making him, having him an instant $250,000 in the bank after he finishes with these contracts over the course of 6 months or whatever. Pole barns, sheds, cabins, homes, whatever it is that they're building, and new additions. And all of those contacts has now transferred from the father to the son. All the son has to do is continue in the work of the father, and he will reap all the benefits that the father has worked throughout all his life to gain. Now he has all of the connections because the name of the business hasn't changed. Just the only thing that's changed is the FEIN number at best, and transferring over the account from the father to the son. But all of the contractors, all of the fellow contractors, all of the people that he's worked with has seen the son working right by the father to learn the craft, and so that they know that, hey, let's continue to use the good reputation and the work of the father through the son, because they know that, because word has gotten around that the son does impeccable work just like the father. So what do you have here? You have the father retiring or semi-retiring and playing a supportive role to the son as the son continues on in this business. And the first year, the son is clearing $250,000, $300,000. Now, this is after all expenses are paid. The son has built his own crew, or has taken crew members from the father, and now he's continuing on with this business. This is how true wealth is created and transferred from father to son. And this is something that cannot be taken away from the father or the son, because at the end of the day, all it is a reputation and a skill set. And you can't take somebody's reputation and skill set from them when they do good work. This is how we need to go about thinking about building generational wealth, because this solves a lot of problems when it comes to inheritance. I don't have to worry about, no matter where I go or where I'm at or where I'm living, that business being taken from me, because it can't be. It can't be taken from me. It can't be diminished from me, because it's my business, and it's the skill set that I've acquired, and I've transferred that knowledge to my son, and I've transferred those connections to my son. And that can't be taken or robbed or stolen or transferred to anybody else, because it's the name, it's the skill set, it's the relationships that has been built between the father and his local community or his contractors, fellow contractors, as well as people that he's done work for, and they're giving representation, they're giving recommendations, and now it's the job of the son to continue on in that vein. Now, probably the accounts were drained, and the father said, hey, probably here goes $50,000 or whatever, but we know that, he knows that the son is going to make, $300,000 off the contracts that the father has put into place, and that's how the wealth is transferred. And this can all be done within one generation. This is all with the change in the thinking of the mind, but you have to be in the right environment. You have to develop the right skill sets, because it's the same when it comes to plumbing or farming or raising cattle or contracting or electrician or any one of these skill sets. It can be transferred from the father to the son without interference of any third party, because they can't take that from you. They can't take the name, they can't take the business, they can't take the representation, and you have instant, consistent cash flow. I'm talking about real cash flow that the son can tap into, because the father has done his due diligence in creating a business for the son. Now, this can be done in 10 years, even 5 years, because depending on where you are, if there's a lot of work, it can be done, but the son has to learn what the father is willing to teach. So that's an excellent way of learning how to build business, as well as transfer wealth generationally from father to son. Hope that information was an inspiration to you. It can be done. You can do it. You just got to go ahead and get after it and make it happen. Have a blessed day. Shalom.